All right, everybody. So I'm just quickly going to go through what I uploaded in the meantime. I just want to. Oh, no, man. Okay, I just wanted to close this. Yes. Okay, so I created the access link here, and you will notice that I uploaded the class participation, and this is actually straight from an old exam. And this is how I'm going to be going through Access with you. I'll be doing 3 exam questions. So this is the first one, but each of them have parts in them that I will discuss every day. So you will notice here that I said that the first video will be about an introduction to Access and also how to create a table. And also you will notice on the exercise, which I will quickly open, that is also the first thing we do in Access. So it is how to create a table. And so I'm going to be going through this today and Thursday. Hopefully by then we'll be finished. And then next week I will start with a second one and then a third one. So you guys will be able to know exactly which video is which. And also each class will hopefully be more or less about that particular topic. So as you can see, there's no video here yet. It's because I'm busy recording it. So it's going to be an introduction to Access. For example, what is Access? What do you do with Access? And things like that. And then, of course, how to create a table. Creating a table is probably the most important thing, and probably one of the things that well, this is the one thing you need when you do Access. You cannot do anything without a table in Access. So that is why I will be starting with this. So I'll be working from this particular exercise, and I've printed it out for myself so that I don't have to come back to this all the time. But of course, you can refer to it when you do your work. So I'm predicting this class will not be too long because I just need to cover tables today to make the videos nice and short, and also to make sure that we are covering this paper completely. So I'm just quickly going to open Access and show you guys Access. Okay. Now, when you go to Access, you will see that there are quite a few options that you can choose from. Now, of course, if you want to go very deep into Access and if you want to create very complicated things, you will see that there's already pre-designed tables or databases that you can use. For example, like in Word and in Excel and every other Microsoft program, you get different kinds of templates that you can use. For example, home inventory. If you click on this, there will be a home inventory table and database that you see there. But of course, all these things are just something that you can do if you like. It's nice to have a look at them sometimes, especially if you are into event management. You can have a look at this and see how they do it, and maybe it will give you some good ideas. And always remember that these templates can be edited, so you don't have to stick to the template they give you. You can choose one that you really like. So but for our purposes, we are obviously going to create a blank desktop database, and this is the one that you can choose. Just note here at the top, as with all the other Microsoft programs, you can actually create or find templates on any of these, okay, if you wish. Okay, so the one that we are creating today, and I'm going to quickly read the first instruction, uh, or let me read the case study. It says the manager of Tennis Logos has determined a number of questions he wants the database management system to answer, and you must obtain the answers to these questions. That is basically what we call a query, and queries are not in today's topic, but before we can do queries, we obviously need to create a table. So the very first question is create a table in Access and name it Tennis Logos. Now, actually, the very first thing to create is actually the database, because you cannot create a table if you don't have a database. Now, some people might say, what is a database? Well, a database is basically a huge, I want to call it a book or a file, and in that file you have dividers, and in the divider you have different tables. So each divider represents a topic, for example, students, employees, staff, things like that. And each divider with its table can be subdivided into more things and so on and so on. So a database is just a collection of facts about a particular topic. Now, in this specific exercise, it's about tennis logos, whatever that is. Okay, so it's about prices, and so it's basically a shop, and it's going to be about the inventory, the prices, item numbers, and things like that. Okay, so we're going to start by creating the database. So you first click on the database. Okay, now here is the first step. And this step is very, very important. You cannot just click on create. Now, when we do Word and everything else, you can just click on create and bam, it will open and so on and so on. But just note the following here. This database that is now called database 1, this database is going to be stored on my C drive in my H drive, basically in my documents folder. Now that is not really where I want it to be saved. So this is the first thing that I must change. Now if you guys are working in the lab, the C drive is the last place where you want to save something. So the C drive is the drive of the computer that you are sitting at. If you want to save it on that particular computer, it will be there. But if you sit at another computer next time, it will not be there. So the best place for you to save it will be on your H drive. For me, that will be on my desktop, basically on my laptop. All right. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to go and click on this little folder, and you need to go and find a place where you can store this. Now I'm storing this in my CPT 1 to 5 folder, and I'm not going to call it database 1. I'm going to call it question 4 because this is the question number. It doesn't look like we have to create, sometimes it will give you a name specifically, but I'm going to do it as question 4, and you will notice here that it is going to be saved as an ACCDB. That stands for Access Database. So when I click on OK now, you will notice here is a very, very descriptive sentence, if you want to call it that, or place or location of where I have now stored or where I am going to work on this database. And you can see it's going to be on my desktop, in my desktop folder, in this. Okay. I've also changed the name from database 1 to question 4 simply because that is the question, that's the name or number of this exam question that we are working on. So this is the very first step, and this is probably one of the most important steps. Then once I have now given it a name and I've stored it where it needs to go, I am now going to click on create. Okay, when you click on create, you will notice that Access opens this for you, and here you will see table 1 and here you will see table 1. Now for today we are going to create a table, but we do not want it to be created in default view basically. So you will notice on the side of the screen there is a little X. There's also a big X at the top. This X closes Access. We don't want to close Access. But this smaller X, this closes this table that they are opening for us. Why am I closing this table? Because I want to design my table myself. This is like an on-the-go thing here. And even though some people might enjoy this kind of design, it does not give us much structure. It also doesn't give you really flexibility on the design. So I'm clicking on this tiny X to close it, and now you will basically see nothing there. And that is what we want. So on this side where you see objects, okay, this is where you will see if you have a table there. Okay, here you have all your other tools that you can use when you create tables or databases or things like that. Okay, now just note that here at the top I already named my database question 4, and this is where I've saved it, and now I am ready to continue. Okay, now the very first instruction says create a table. Now, when you click on create, you will see there are a few things here that you can create. First of all, you can create a table. You can create a query, and this is where I can see tables. So you can create a table using any of these three ways. Queries with these two ways, forms, quite a few of them, reports, quite a few of them, macros and code. This is not part of your module because we are not going to go into it in much depth. So we are going to create a table. So we're going to start right here in this box here. Now you can see this table. If I click on it, it's going to take me back to the one that I just closed. So this is basically on the go. All right. So if you click on it, it's called table, create a blank table directly from, you can enter directly into this table. But like I said, that doesn't allow a lot of structure. So we are not using this method. We are also not using SharePoint lists because SharePoint works quite closely with SQL, which is a coding language. So this is also not the one that we're going to use. So from this section here, the only one that we are going to use is this one here. And this is table design. And when you click on that, you will see a box or something actually like a table opens for you. But keep in mind that this is not yet your actual table. This is where you are designing your table. All right. So designing the table is the first step. Before we can enter anything into this table, we have to create the table design. And when we do that, we have to look at the table that was given to us, the one that I have here in my hand and that you have here there on Google Classroom. We will look at the design of this table and we will determine what to enter into this descriptions and things like that. All right. Now, the first thing, we haven't even done the first step yet because the first part says create a table. So we have created the database. We have chosen a way to create the table, but we have not yet created the table. Now, creating the table is actually probably the most important step, because if you make a mistake here, everything is going to be affected by that mistake, which means that if you, for example, say price is quantity. Okay, of course, if you say price is quantity, then you're going to not be able to make calculations properly, because you're going to have to calculate quantity is probably going to be a full number or a whole number, like 1, 2, 3 to whatever, and currency or rand is going to be 10 rand 50. So how are you going to do things like that? So one has to be very, very specific when it comes to designing the table. Okay. Now, the second instruction says, add the table below to the database and name it item. Okay, and pay careful attention to the data types. The data types is the most important thing. Okay, so I'm going to start this and you guys are I'm going to talk you through why am I choosing that data type for each of them. Now, I'm showing you guys this just to show you this is the table. And at the top of the table, you will see the column headings, which shows you the fields. Okay. So when you see the word field, you can actually replace it with column name. Okay. So the first thing is going to be item number. So I type item number in the first box like this, and then I press enter. When you press enter, you go to data type. Now, when you see short text can be a mix of numbers, it can be letters, but short text means it cannot be a paragraph, for example. Now, if you look here below, you will see all the different things associated with short text. Okay. The field size for something short text is 255 characters. Now, you might say to yourself, that's not short. Well, it's not short, but a space also counts as a character. Um, each alphabetical character counts as a character. Every number counts as a character. So 255 will probably be a short paragraph. Long a longer field will obviously be like an essay or even a book or something like that. So item number, when I say short text and I look at these item numbers, I can see that they are numbers. But remember, these numbers are like your student number. It's basically an identifier, basically. When you look at your student number, I'm not going to make calculations with student 32694 and student, I'm not adding your numbers together. That is basically like your ID number. So this item number is not going to be a number that I do calculations with. This is going to be its name, basically. So the first thing that you need to determine is when you see the word number, even phone number, a phone number is also not really a number because it's too big. And if you enter it into this system, it's going to say error impossibly large number. So I'm not going to use phone numbers to do calculations. I'm going to use phone numbers basically as a word or an identifier. And the same for this. So this is not a real number. This is basically a name of the item, if I want to call it that. So short text, and I'm going to show you different data types here. So short text is basically a word, which is a mix of numbers and letters. Long text, that is, of course, if you have a long thing to type, or for example, like a letter or a, a whole book, even if it's not too long. I think even it can be very long. Then you get a number. This can be, for example, on hand. There is one of our things that we're going to add there is going to be on hand. That is definitely something you can use then because that will be a real number, 110. That is a number we can work with. Then another data type will be date and time. Currency is when you work with money. Auto number is if you just want it to be 1 and then the next one is going to be 2 and the next one is going to be 3. So auto number is basically just adding 1 every time. I hate auto number because it doesn't give me much power over my own table because I need to design and assign values to each of the items. Okay, much of these we'll discuss later. So short text in this instance is a good choice. Okay, what do we write in description? In description, this is basically where you will write a description of what the person should enter into the table. So in here, you can basically say, this is the number of the item, which is just a little, look, we don't even really enter stuff in here, but for someone who wants to be very thorough, of course you can. Okay, so that is my very first number or my very first field that I'm going to be entering. Now I'm saying enter, I'm going to my second one. The second one is description. So now we are looking at the description of the item. Okay, so when you think, now in this description specifically, I'm seeing baseball cap, cotton visor, crew sweatshirt, crew t-shirt. So these are words, okay? There's nothing strange about this. And even if there were numbers in here, even if you had a B, a C, a 1, a 2, a 3, a special character, doesn't matter, it would still count as short text. So for this specific data type, short text will be okay. Okay, so I will write something in here. Enter. So as you can see, we are not populating the table yet. We are just designing the table now. Okay, the next one is on hand. And this is why you always need to see the stuff like this before you start. So on hand is definitely a number because the whole column is just numbers. So this doesn't give you any way to doubt it. So here you can just specify enter a number so that the person who's entering, if you are the one creating the table but another person is the one using the table, then it's good to leave a description. Okay. Then there's a price, and this is called wholesale price. And of course, when you deal with prices, you are going to choose currency. And here I will say enter a price. Sorry about me coughing so much. Yo, just can't get rid of it. Then we get to base cost, and this is also a price, remember, because we're saying cost. So when you hear the word cost, you already know it's going to be money. So once again, I'm saying enter a price. And the last one is the supplier code. And once again, these codes are just alphabetical letters, L, M, L, M, P, C, and so on. But if they contained a number, it still would have been short text. Okay. But we're not done yet. Okay, now just keep in mind, each one of these data types have some characteristics. Short text, these are their characteristics. When I click on number, you can see it's a long integer, which means a number, usually a whole number. Doesn't actually have to be a whole number, but it is. And then here you have currency, and once again we have short text. So each of these data types have some characteristics. Now for you guys, it's not really necessary to go into much detail when it comes to this at the bottom. We are going to do a little bit of this maybe, but for today not. And also for the rest of the module, very basic access, not complicated. Okay. So this is basically what my table is going to be about. And now the very last thing I must do before I can exit this screen is I must choose a primary key. And a primary key, let me just see if I need to admit anyone. Nope. So a primary key is something that each table needs. If you do not choose a primary key, Access will choose a primary key for you. And you don't want that because it's going to be an auto number, which is just going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Primary keys are very important because primary keys help you eliminate duplicates. So we must choose a primary key in this table that is unique. What is unique to you? Your ID number. That is something that only you have in this whole entire world. That is just yours. A passport number. Okay. What about a cell phone number? No, definitely not. Because I know someone else is also giving out my cell phone number because I'm getting stuff from a certain Mornay. Um, like people are contacting a Mornay and I'm not Mornay. So that is not a good example of a primary key. So a primary key is something that is unique and that cannot be duplicated. So if you look at this specific table, when I look at this table, I see something that is unique to each item, and that is the number. So there can only be one number 3363. There cannot be another number 3363. It can be only one. So in this specific table, that is going to be a good example of a primary key. You have to look at all of them. For example, a description. Nope. On hand, nope. Wholesale price. There may be more than one supplier that is the same. Prices may be the same. Descriptions may be the same. What if you have a description for a ball that is a Wilson ball and what's the other brands for balls? I don't know. But they're both a ball, a soccer ball, but they're just different suppliers. So that is definitely not going to be a good choice. But an item number will definitely work. So how do I assign a primary key to this specific choice I'm making? Well, it's actually very easy. You just click in it like I've done now, and you will notice here that there's a key, a silver key with primary key written under there, and there I will just click on it and you will see it will assign a little key there next to the word item number. That means item number, this is my primary key field, which means this must always be unique. If you enter the same item number, it's going to give you an error message. I'll show you just now. Okay, so now that I've done my design for my table, I am ready to close my table, and now I can name it. They say add the table below and name it item. Yeah, I probably should call it items. Do you want to save the changes? Yes. Okay, now I'm calling it items. Now you will notice here I have my very first table, and when I double click on it, it's a blank table, but at least it's here. They always allow this extra block at the end. They always allow this to allow you to enter another field. This is simply confusing to me. So if you look closely, you will see what I'm doing now. I'm closing it like this. Okay. So it just removes it. I don't need that block. I've made my choices. Another thing that is very much like Excel is I can actually enlarge all my columns so that nothing is cut off. So if you see some of your words not showing clearly, just double click on the borderline over here and there and everywhere, and you will be able to cut it off. Now I am ready to populate my table. Now look closely. Here is item number, and here at the bottom of the screen, this is the number of the item. This is the sentence you entered into the design of the table. So this is for the person who will now populate the table. So I'm going to enter, I'm not going to enter all of them because that's going to take too long, but I'm going to do some of them. 3363. Enter takes you to the next one. In description, we say baseball cap, enter. Okay, now you will see in this specific field, because I chose the data type number, there will be a 0 there already. Okay, so I can just simply enter my number and press enter. When you get to price, you will see there's already a rand. You don't re-enter the rand symbol. You just simply enter your price, 4.87, enter. The rand will be put in front automatically. The base cost is 6 rand 10 and the supplier code is LM. Now I'm going to the second line, and now this is how you redo your table. Now remember what I said, you cannot enter a duplicate primary key, so that is what I'm going to do now to show you the message. So as you can see here, we have the 3363, so I'm going to enter it again, 3363, enter. Okay, I must actually finish the line before, so I'm just going to do the rest of the one correctly. A cotton visor, 150 on hand, 4 rand 59, 5.74, and LM. Now when I press enter, I will get an error message that says the changes you requested to the table were not successful because they would create a duplicate value in the primary key relationship. Can you see that you cannot enter a value in this primary key field that will create a duplicate? So I'm saying, oh boy, I made a mistake. Maybe it's just a typing error. Or, oh boy, I have this item on here twice. So either way, fix your error. So click on OK, go back to where you made a mistake and fix your mistake. 3673. And done. So now that I've fixed my error, okay, by the way, just let me show you quickly. When I'm in this one, it gives enter the description of the item, enter a number, enter a price, enter a code for the supplier. So this is simply the description that you entered when you designed. So this table is working well, and we can just now enter all of these things. There's quite a few, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 15 in total. So let me enter the first 5. No, not 3. I'll do the rest when I log out, and I'll finish it for tomorrow, for Thursday, I mean. Third one is a crew sweatshirt. How many? 75. It's very important that you don't make mistakes here, because especially when we're going to do the queries, it may not find the entries if you enter it incorrectly. Okay, so entering the stuff into the table is now very straightforward. Let's say I'm done. I just simply close by clicking on the X, and they are saying, do you want to save? And I say yes. And now my table is very safe here, tucked away in the objects pane. When I'm ready to open it again and continue entering values, I can just simply do that. And whenever you see something not showing properly, you are very welcome to just double click and enlarge. It adds this every time. If it doesn't annoy you, then you can just leave it. Otherwise, just close it. And that is how you do a table. So for the first one, we created the database. We created the table. Okay. We paid careful attention to data types. Okay. Now there is something here at step 4 that says create a lookup list for the supplier code field. Let me show you quickly how to do that. Yes, you can very easily edit this if you like. Notice here that I am now in what we call view, normal view. But if I click on this pencil and ruler, I can go straight back to design view. Okay. They want us to create a list for the supplier, and that is very easy to do. So here in the supplier code, we are going to create a little lookup list. So you will notice here right at the bottom, instead of saying short text, I'm going to go and say lookup wizard. And this is the little box that appears. It's very, very easy. So don't get scared when you see stuff like this. So it says this creates a lookup field which displays a list of values. So I will type the values I want. This is the one you will choose. Next, and here we have our values. So you don't repeat, you just write it once. So there's one LM, tab, you must press tab, PC, tab, what is the other one? SD, SD, tab, I already have PC, SD, LM, yes, LM, PC, SD, LM, PC, SD. Okay, that's just those three. Okay, now I just say finish. Okay, once again, I close and I save. So if I enter a value now, let's enter the next one. You will see what's going to happen. So I created a little list. It just makes it easier for us not to type it out. So what is the next one's number? That would be this 4583. It is a crew t-shirt. 135. Now, the lookup wizard allowed us to insert this little box here now. So instead of typing out the supplier, we can just simply choose the supplier, and in this case it is PC. So you will just click on PC. This is nice, especially if you have something repeat a lot. You just enter it once in the lookup wizard that I just showed you, and that means if you enter a little list containing each of the values, you can just choose from that list every time something needs to be added. All right, and this is how to create a table. Do you guys have any questions for me about this, or would you first like to think about it or try it out yourselves? It's not complicated. I guess one will just have to try it. Let me just get to you guys.